You're listening to The Disconnect, a podcast about anxiety and how it disconnects you from your normal self. We're here to share our journey and help you through yours to show you you're not alone. And now, your hosts, Austin Grant and Lindsay Jones. Welcome to episode 12 of The Disconnect. For those of you who have been listening along with us, welcome back. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we're so glad that you're listening. In the most recent episode, we talked about our productivity genes, and today we're going to talk about something I don't think many people realize is even a thing. I mean, I didn't realize it was a thing until about 2 weeks ago, but it's something called decision fatigue. So what it is, it's the deterioration of our ability to make good decisions after a long session of decision making. So, or in the simplest terms, I think like when I was reading a book and they mentioned it, like the thing that really stuck out to me was the fact that, you know, we're talking about, we're at work all day and then we have to come home, we have to manage podcasts, we have to do homework, we have to, do a bunch of other things or whatever it may be. And like what I've been realizing is like why am I so tired after I get home, like all the time? Like, I'm not doing anything physically demanding or anything like that at work, so it's like not a physical like exhaustion or like I'm not physically tired at the end of the day. It's more of just like a mental exhaustion, and to the point where you just don't want to do anything, you don't want to see anyone, you don't want to talk to anyone, you just want to just sit there and like simply be and not just, and zone out. And so we did found a couple of articles that kind of talk about like the effects of decision fatigue, and I think it's pretty relevant to at least what I experience. I don't know if you feel the same.
Well, it's funny because there was a study that was done in 2017, I think, and it says that the average person switches between tasks more than 300 times per day, and that's just during like working hours. So like you're constantly trying to task switch all day long. So it's not a surprise to me that we experience decision fatigue because we are so constantly focused on the things that we're doing throughout the day that when we come home and we have to like make a decision for ourselves that doesn't entail anything that we've previously made a decision about, you're exhausted. You're exhausted from making decisions all day, and you're exhausted from thinking about task switching all day. And so it's no wonder that we experience decision fatigue and that it ultimately leads to poor decision making skills outside of your work life, right? Like for me, I feel like I'm constantly doing things at work, and then the last thing I want to do is come home and make a decision about even what to eat for dinner. Like that is the most basic decision that I could possibly make, and I'm so exhausted from doing other things throughout the day that I don't want to do it. And so I end up making like poor decisions about like, I'm just going to pick something up on the way home.
Taco Bell.
Yeah, like it's something easy, something on the way home because you're so exhausted from doing other things throughout the day.
Side note, do you think that people out there nowadays are marketing and they're advertising specifically for people like with long commutes and things like that, and you're so tired and you have that decision fatigue on the way, and so just the fact that Taco Bell's on your way home,
oh, absolutely,
do you think it's like positioned in a way to where it's like,
we
can solve all your problems with a gordita?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, it's food that's easy. It's food that you like to eat, and you're constantly being marketed for it, right? So, like, you think about how, like, if you're even just driving down the freeway going home, or you're driving, on a vacation or something, right? You see all these billboards and all these ads for different things. And it's like, oh, here's this like delicious looking food. And you might be driving home and you're already tired and you're already hungry and you're already in like a crappy mood because you had such a long day, that the last thing you want to do is get home and make something for yourself. So you see this billboard of this delicious hamburger sitting there, or like a bunch of tacos, and you're like, man, I could really use some tacos in my life right now. And you're like, you know what? I deserve those tacos because I've had a really hard day. And then you like end up doing that instead of making your own food.
Poor decisions.
It
So
absolutely happens.
that's the biggest thing here of how it affects your decision making, especially when you get home. And I think, yeah, like the biggest thing for me is like, it's exactly like that. Like, I'll get home and Jess will be asking me all these questions. Normally it starts prior to us both getting off. She's like, what do you want to make for dinner? And I'm like, I don't know. Just pick something. I don't care. I don't know.
Right. So you go for something that's quick and
pick.
easy.
Yeah. And like a lot of it too is like meal planning and meal prepping and things like that. Like it gets to the point where like, I just get so tired and fed up at the end of the day, and I've had this same meal for like 2 days, 3 days straight, and I'm just like, I don't want that.
Or at the beginning of the week, you think it's a really great idea to make a giant pot of something, and you're like, yeah, now I'll have food for the entire week. And then you get to
the
like
next day, and you're just like, oh, I'm
2 days
sick
in, and
of
you're
this.
like, oh no.
Yeah, that's what we did last week.
If I have to eat some more spaghetti, I will literally go run around the block.
we had chili for like 4 days straight, and I was like, by the end of it, I was just like, how do we have an entire thing of Tupperware left? Like, I feel like I've been breathing chili. Like, and so it's just like that, like in those moments when I'm just like so tired, so exhausted, and like the thought of eating the same thing. Like, there's two parts to it. You don't want to make a bunch of food. You don't want to spend all this time, because then you're like, shoot, well, I have other things I have to do tonight. Mm-hmm. So you want something quick, but then that quick thing that you prepared and planned to eat, you're just like, I don't want that. And so then just the poor decisions just start to unfold, and you're like, Taco Bell's down the road, or McDonald's is right there, and then it's just like downhill.
Well, do you think, like, in that same vein, do you think that decision fatigue affects other areas of your life? Like money spending, or like, I'm trying to think of like another good example. Like maybe we're in election season, so maybe like the election might be a good area where decision fatigue might happen, because like you're so tired of making decisions all the time, and you're constantly faced with like all these ads for vote for this person or vote for this other person, and then when you finally sit down to vote, you're like, I literally don't care because I've been making decisions all day long. I'm cranky and I'm hungry and this is annoying, and so I'm just going to vote for the first person that I see on the ballot because I don't care. And then you end up like, making poor decisions that way and not actually voting the way that you want. That's just something that I thought of, because I read this sentence just here, and it says, the more decisions you need to make, the worse you're going to be weighing all the options and making an educated, research-backed choice. And that just like instantly made me think of like the election, and like how I normally sit down and take like a couple hours to vote, but I try to do it on the weekend because I vote with an absentee ballot because I want to have the time to like make the choice. But like, I know a lot of people don't have that ability, and so I was just curious of like, what other areas do you think this impacts?
Well, I think it, like, I don't know if it's specifically decision fatigue, but like when you were saying that, I thought of like studying for a test, and you study so much for every day for, the week before the test or 2 weeks before the test. And then by the time you get to the test, you're so fed up with all of the stuff you've like crammed. And then you're just like, all right, let's just get this over with, because I'm over it. Like, I'm
right.
And then you just don't perform at your best. And you like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's more so of like the fact that you've done all that, and then now that you're tired, like I've found myself in that situation so many times where like I've done enough to where I know enough, and then I'll get in this mentality of, okay, I'm good for the final, I'm good for the test, the midterm, whatever it may be, and then you get into it and you're just, breezing through it, and then you just not I don't think I've ever tanked it, but like you don't do as well as you wish you would because of that. And so I think that's kind of another area that I think is affected by it, is just that idea of doing so many different things for so long, and then you're just like over it.
Well, also in this article that I'm looking at here, it talks about like they did a study about prisoners and how like their parole hearings are impacted by decision fatigue. And it says they looked at like 1,100 parole decision hearings made by judges in the U.S. And prisoners who appeared earlier in the morning received about 70% of 70% of the time they received their parole, while those who appeared later in the day were paroled less than 10% of the time, which is fascinating. Like, to think that like decision fatigue isn't just like something that just like impacts what I have for dinner. Like it heavily impacts like massively important things in people's lives, which is like super fascinating.
Well, yeah, now that I think of it, I had a doctor's appointment on Friday, and it was like 2:15, 2:30, and the doctor comes in, and him and I are super close or whatever, and so he's like he just comes in, you can tell, like, long week, long day, and he was just tired. He's like, can we just, we just call it a day and just go home after this, and like, and so I totally feel that, like, I personally feel that like in the morning I'm good, like I'm whether I don't want to be at work or whatever the situation may be, and like I'm in a better mood kind of sort of in the morning. But then once that post lunch, like we get sluggish, we get tired, and it's just like looking back on all you've done today and all the things, and like that idea of the task switching, like that hit so close to home. Like like it stresses me out how many times I task switch and how it's become so normalized and we don't even recognize it, and we're just jumping between so many different things. It's just like, oh my gosh, we need to slow down. And like,
well, I think that also can tie into like what we were talking about last episode with the productivity gene. Like, we're so constantly used to task switching constantly all day long that when we're not task switching in our off work time, I think it can be really jarring for us, and our brain is like, wait, why are we not doing over 300 different things in a day? Why are we only doing like 10 different things in a day? And then that's where that guilt starts to come in. So it's interesting to kind of see that this decision fatigue and what leads to decision fatigue might also lead into that issue with the productivity gene that we all seem to have.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like something that, in terms of how to combat this, and it's like so like since I've read that paragraph or that chapter about the decision fatigue in the book I'm reading, like they mentioned like how Steve Jobs or Albert Einstein or people like that, like they understand that there's all these decisions and stuff that we make in one day. And so this article that we're reading, the first tip is to simplify the choices that we need to make throughout the day. And so, for instance, Steve Jobs and Albert Einstein, like they're famous for wearing the same clothes, like every day. Like,
well, I know, like Einstein didn't wear shoes that tied because he thought it was a waste of time to tie his shoes.
Yeah, but like with Steve Jobs, like he's got a particular outfit that he wears, and that's it. So that's one less thing. You're starting your day by going to your closet, seeing 55 different things of just shirts you can wear, and then you have to go, okay, what pants am I going to wear with that? Which one looks good with this? What, matching my shoes with my belt, with my pants, with my hat, with my, and so it's just like all these different types of things. And so before you even get out the door in the morning, you're already making, 50 decisions right there. And so one less thing you'd have to think about. You already know what you're going to wear. As stupid and as silly as it sounds, like it's just, you get it on, cool, great, didn't have to think about it. And it's that idea of like making it like an automatic process almost, and you're not necessarily wasting time, but you're not like wasting mental capacity thinking about it and making that decision.
Well, I think they do that with soldiers in the military too, where like they have the same uniform, and like I think they do that on purpose, because why waste the energy, the brain capacity, making a decision with what to wear when you're in the middle of a war zone? Like, that makes so much sense, like, looking at it. That is such, like, a fascinating, logical thing that they do for military officials.
Talk about decision fatigue.
What, just being in the military?
Yeah.
Having to make all those decisions?
Yeah.
Right.
That's terrifying. So the second tip on this site is set honest priorities earlier in the day. And so then I think it mentions that idea of like how judges, being likely to grant parole earlier in the days. And so it says here, your best time to make those hard decisions is when you first start. Your brain's kind of fresh. You're not coming off 6-7 hours into your work day trying to close out the day, and then you're just like, oh crap, I gotta decide whatever it may be, and so I think getting that done early on, especially in the work day, I think that's beneficial. That way it's not, one, hanging over your head all day, but two, like, you're in a better like mental state and going on in the beginning of the day.
Well, I wonder if that's also why, like, they say sleep on it, quote unquote. Like, if you have a decision to make, you shouldn't make it like at the end of the day. You should always make it at the beginning of the day, because your brain has time to kind of process it overnight. And then when you're fresh in the morning and you haven't been making decisions all day, you can really make the best decision for yourself first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, I just looked it up right now. It says conventional wisdom suggests that by sleeping on it, we clear our minds and relieve ourselves of the immediacy and accompanying stress of making a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And so it says it also like organizes your memories, your process, of information and solving problems. So it's more of like, it's not like a rash decision or you're rushing to like, okay, and you end up doing something that you regret, or that idea of like, at the end of the day, you made all of these decisions before, you're really affected by decision fatigue, and then you're just going down that that poor decision rabbit hole. And so that idea of sleep, like I never really thought of it that way. I've always been one that's just like, oh, sleep on it, like, I'll use that as like a, obviously you're not like thinking about it like when you sleep, you might be before, like, but it's kind of interesting to think about, just because it's like just such a common thing that people say nowadays, and you don't really ever take the time to pay attention of it.
Yeah, or like
or
pay attention to like why, like the reasoning behind it, I guess.
Yeah, and so another article we found was anxiety and decision fatigue. And so I was like just curious to see if there's any correlation, or what happens, or if one stems from the other. And so there's this article on joeborders.com, and it talks about decision fatigue resulting in all kinds of symptoms like irritability, anxiety, bad decision making, and general mental fatigue. And so the irritability and like anxiety piece, I definitely feel that, because like I'll just come home and like not even consciously like be kind of like in a pissed off mood or whatever, and Jess is trying to talk to me about her day, like, and I'm not like intentionally like ignoring her or whatever, but it's just like, if I don't respond to her or whatever, I'm just like it's one of those moments where I'm just like, I don't want to talk. Like I hear you and like I want to know about your day, but it's just like regardless of just what may be going on in that moment, it's just like trying to recover and shut my brain off from the day can lead to me, almost being irritable in those instances. And then it's just like, I'm hungry on top of that, like, and so that getting all hangry, and it's just a nightmare.
Well, I think another way that decision fatigue impacts anxiety, or the other way around, is I think like making those decisions, like you feel really confident earlier in the day with making decisions, and then as you get more tired and you kind of have to make more decisions, and you kind of get through and into that fatigue space, like I think you start thinking about like, how is this decision going to affect me, and like how is this going to affect me long term? Am I going to regret this someday, or am I going to regret it now? Am I making the right decision? And so like in that moment, I think it's causing a lot of anxiety because you're thinking ahead of the decision, right? At least that's what happens for me. Like I hate making decisions because I'm constantly thinking about like, what happens if I make this decision? Like, what are the long-term impacts of this decision? Is it going to benefit me in the long run, or am I going to have to like suffer some consequences later? And I hate consequences, and so I will do anything to avoid them. And so I really take like my decision making, especially for large things, pretty seriously. Like I sit down and dedicate 3 hours to voting for, like that is not a normal thing that people do, I don't think.
Not at all.
Because I'm like worried about how that decision is going to impact my future. So it's just interesting to see that anxiety and decision fatigue are tied like that.
Well, the next part of the article says, for those who suffer with anxiety problems, decision fatigue can be more of a challenge and have a quicker onset than those who do not suffer from anxiety. And so it's like they go on to talk about research and how like decision fatigue and anxiety starts to like stir up the conversations internally of like, how will this decision affect me? Will I regret it later? Am I making the right decision? And so it's just like, all those different aspects. And all she asked me was what I want for dinner. I'm just like, I don't know what I want for dinner. I have a test tomorrow and I haven't studied, and my dog this, that, and sure, you're just like, it's like, dude, I just wanted do you want tacos or quesadillas? Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, there's so many.
Right?
Like,
well, it's funny you say that because I was driving home today and I called my brother to see what he wanted for dinner. And I was like, I called him and he didn't answer. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll just drive home, right? He called me just before I got home. Like I was 2 blocks away from home. He was like, oh, hey, what's going on? And I was like, oh, I just wanted to know what you wanted for dinner, but like I'm almost home, so it doesn't really matter, right? And he was like, oh, well, I was cleaning my house and I was cleaning my room and all this stuff, right? And I was like, oh, okay, well, what do you want to do for dinner? And then we both got like angry at each other. Like at the same time, because he was mad that I wouldn't just make the decision of what to have for dinner without asking him first. And I was mad at myself for not making the decision and just going and doing it when like I obviously know like, I have to go to Safeway and I have to pick up like food. Like I need to go grocery shopping, so I obviously have to do that. And like instead of just automatically doing it, I was so tired and exhausted that I didn't want to go do that unless he asked me to. So I was like gonna head home and then be cranky when I got home anyway. So it was just one of those days where like that's the perfect example of that whole decision fatigue thing, because we were like ended up being mad at each other for no reason.
Did you end up getting tacos from a place two doors down?
No, I actually did go to Safeway.
Oh, that would have just put the icing on the cake to the story.
I am trying to be better. I am desperately trying to be better. I'm trying to make better decisions and be better.
But decision fatigue doesn't help.
Decision fatigue does not help.
Then you fall into the pit. You're like, okay, now that we've decided what we're doing for dinner and we're eating it, now I'm just going to go binge watch Netflix.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And then that's what I did last night. I was like, I needed to do some homework. But like I made some food. I like made it quick, got home and ate it and just ate in front of an episode, and the next thing you know,
yep.
Are you still watching?
It's bedtime.
No, I'm not watching. I'm binging. Yeah, and so it's terrible. Ugh, maybe that's a challenge that we start in one of these episodes. No Netflix for a week.
What would I do with my life? I guess I have Hulu. I'd be fine.
No streaming of any type of video, movie, TV show. No looking at The Bachelor or whatever.
Oh, God, I hate
She
that
watches
show.
that all the time, and I'm like, look, I am losing brain cells.
I did watch that stupid show on Netflix, the Love is Blind show. Oh. I watched it, and it was horrendous, but I was addicted. I had to find out how it ended.
Oh, my goodness.
Mostly because it's such a ridiculous
Anyways,
concept.
that article was really cool. I really enjoyed it. And there's a article by the New York Post. It says how to stop decision fatigue from causing an anxiety attack.
Ooh.
It's exciting. I think.
Yeah, what are their recommendations? Also, like, disclaimer, we're not medical professionals. Don't take this as, like, the rule.
Yeah, this is the New York Post. They seem pretty legit, but,
who knows? Crazier things have happened.
Yeah, anything you find, don't believe everything you find from the internet. Even that's where, we find 90% of our content. Anyways, and so this one, it says, it just starts the article with a bunch of questions. It's like, oh, do I get up at 6? Do I get up at 7? Do I have bread? Do I have cereal? Do I have a biscuit? Do I have a bagel? Do I have coffee? Do I have a smoothie? And then it's just like, do I get dressed before? Do I brush my teeth? So it's like all these types of things. Right when you wake up, you're like forced to have, make all these decisions. Kind of like what we were talking about with all the clothes and stuff. And you're just like,
how many, do people actually make that many decisions? I mean, I don't eat breakfast, so I guess I don't have to deal with that. And I try to lay out my clothes before I go to bed. So I make the decision before I get up in the morning.
Yeah, but then you probably change it, right?
9 times out of 10, no. Like, usually I stick with it. So, like, I don't know. I guess I already try to limit as many decisions as I can make in the morning because, like, I'm tired. And decisions are hard.
Well, that's what they say. The decisions, all taking up precious brain energy that could be used for productivity.
Oh, okay. So I'm just being more productive is what you're saying to me.
No. No. And so, yeah, so they say at the beginning of the day, assuming you get a good night's rest, you have plenty of brain energy, and as a result, you make good decisions. Very big.
Assuming I have enough brain power in the morning.
And then it's like the later in the day, the more decisions that have been made, the more brain power has been used, and your brain's like, hey, I'm tapped out. You got that low battery alert, 20% left on your phone. You got to plug it in. Like, it's time to plug your brain in. Wouldn't that be cool? Just sit there, plug your brain in, you get a little charge.
Yeah, but sleeping is so nice.
That's true. You wouldn't know, wouldn't you?
No.
Oh, okay, well, that's a topic for another day. And so,
insomnia.
Yeah, I mean, so they say, the longer you go in the day, more decisions you have, less brain energy is left to make decisions. But, like that's the biggest thing. Is like, for me, when like that whole 8 to 5 life, American dream, gotta love it. You get home, like, that's my time to do, the things I like doing, to hang out with Jess, to hang out with the dog, to do those things that I can't do between the hours of 8 and 5 on Monday through Friday. And so it's like, it's just fascinating to see. And you're like so hyped up. Okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. Thinking like, okay, what I'm going to do when I get home. And then you get home. Like, you ever plan things? You're like, all right, I'm going to do all this stuff tonight. Get all my homework done. And you get home and you're just like, nothing. Yep. Absolutely nothing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like,
constantly.
It's literally like 3 out of 5 days a week.
So here's something wild to
Terrible.
think about, right? So this whole like 8 to 5 work thing that we got going on, right? That is a societal construct. Somewhere along the line, we as a society decided that was a good idea, and we've stuck with it. And now we're dealing with these consequences of decision fatigue, of anxiety and depression, and like all these things. And like, it's because we're locked into this societal construct that we created for ourselves. It is mind-boggling to think about that. Like, we did this as a society and as a human race. We did this to ourselves. So there you go. Think about that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting that's like you said, it's like a societal thing. So that's why I don't think like we recognize it as much or we're conscious of it as much, just because that's like the norm.
Mm-hmm. But it's only the norm because, like, we dictated that it's so. But there's nothing, like, there's no rule book that says that it has to be that way. It's like the whole thing, this is going to be super tangential, but I feel like it's another good example of what I'm talking about. Like, if you think about how money loses its value, it only loses its value because we've deemed that it can lose its value. So, like, if we had... I don't know. I got into an argument with Jacob one time about how, like, we could have used coconuts as currency because they are equal value as, like, the actual paper money that we carry around. But, like, if you thought about that, like, $20 is $20 is $20 forever, and it holds the same $20 value, like, the only reason that things lose value is because we think they lose value. Like, there's nothing that, like, inherently makes it lose value. And I could be wrong because I'm not, like, an economist or anything like that. Like, I don't actually know. But, like, to me,
we're not economists, we're not doctors, we're not psychiatrists, we're not...
I'm just a human who thinks about things. But, like, in my mind, it's...
An anxious human.
Ooh, anxiety-driven human. In my brain, it seems to make sense that, like, if we just stopped letting things be devalued... and we just agreed that $20 was $20 for eternity, then it would stop losing its value. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like the idea if you had $5 as a kid and you're like, oh, wow, I'm rich. And now if you have $5, you're like, well, I guess we're eating ramen this week.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's such a weird, like, concept to think about something like that. Anyway. Side tangent to think about stuff like that. But that's how I feel about, like, why we're experiencing so much anxiety is because, like, we've locked ourselves into this space that we don't necessarily have to be in, but we do have to be in it because it's the way that things are. It's just weird that this is how things ended up being, I guess. Of all of the different possibilities, this is how it is. Anyway, I have an article that talks about 5 ways to overcome decision fatigue and boost your willpower. If you want to...
Is it Center for Anxiety?
No, it's from jamesclear.com.
Oh, but I have one of the ones that I have in the show notes. It's actually 5 days or 5 tips as well.
Ooh.
So we could compare.
All right. Well, my first one is something that I actually do.
Look at you.
Well, it says plan daily decisions the night before.
That's what mine says. Plan your day the night before.
Oh, are we going to go off the same list? Hell yeah.
Same list, different website.
Perfect. So, it lists an example. Take time to plan out, simplify, and design a repeated daily decision that will give you more mental space to make the important choices each day. And for me, that is deciding what I'm going to wear the night before. Like, I will make that decision and I will stick to it. Like, I trust past me to have made that decision and I'm going to stick with it. Because you go past me, I'm empowering myself.
Yeah, mine says, like, spend a few minutes before going to bed each night to develop an outline of tomorrow's tasks and events. Like, for me, if I were doing that, I'd, like, get so caught up into that, and it's not gonna be no few minute thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna, like, start thinking about it, and I'm gonna get all stressed out, and then I'm not gonna be able to sleep. So, like, that piece, I don't get it. And, like, the whole, like, Jess has been trying to get me to, like, put your outfit out. I don't. Like,
you should try it though.
Yeah, but maybe that'll be my challenge this week, to plan my outfit the night before.
Speaking of challenges, how did your challenge go last time?
It's going great.
Leaving your phone outside of the bedroom.
I only slept with it in my room like 1 or 2 days.
All right.
But the rest of them out on the counter, plugged in, done so. I loved it. I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, you know, they say any progress is forward progress.
I know, but my self-critical brain tells me, well, you failed.
Yeah, but like, so I was cleaning my room this weekend, right? And I started on Saturday because I lost something and I was losing my mind trying to find it in my room. And my room was just a mess because I haven't had time to clean it, right? There's like clothes all over the floor and all that shit, right? So I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to clean my room. I'm going to do it. And so I cleaned like half of my room on Saturday. And when I got done, I was so tired. And I was like, I think I've had enough of this. And I was so sad because I didn't finish it and I didn't find the thing that I wanted. But then I reminded myself that any forward progress is still progress and I should still be proud of myself. So then I woke up the next day and I was like, hell yeah, past me. I made so much progress. So today is going to be easy and I'll just finish it. So then I woke up on Sunday and I did all of that too. I finished cleaning my room and I'm so proud of myself because any progress is forward progress and you should still be proud of yourself for that.
So how did the no technology thing go for you?
Oh, it went really well. I just like left my phone in the kitchen and it lived its best life. And it's been a great time.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it. I enjoy it, and it's just like
It does make waking up harder because my watch doesn't make noise. It just vibrates.
oh, I love that it vibrates. I hate noise.
I miss it 9 times out of 10
Yeah, I
because
don't.
apparently I sleep like I'm dead.
Yeah, I don't miss it. No, it's like there's nothing more like alarming, I guess, no pun intended, but like that traditional like iPhone like alarm.
Mm-hmm.
Waking up to that is just that's terrible. Like
I had
like there's
my,
so much like you're brutally being like awakened, and I'm like, this is not. I don't need this type of anxiety as I'm waking up.
the alarm on my phone is a literal rooster,
Oh, I hate that.
and it's great.
Yeah, no, I'm all about that subtle, quiet. It'll just vibrate on my arm. I'll sit up there, look at it. Great, I'm up. Like, you know, if I miss it, I got a couple, so you know it'll keep nagging me about it or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I haven't done the actual out loud alarm in like 2 years.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I have to have some kind of noise because I can't just like have something like vibrate on my arm. I miss it. Apparently, I have no feeling.
So
and
you know what they say. Although like the book that I read, like that, or that I'm actually just finishing up right now, it says so no technology room. Get yourself one of those ancient alarm clocks.
Oh no!
You don't need no fancy like today on NPR. No, just an annoying little beep.
You know, I
like
could ask my Alexa to do it. I suppose. I've never thought about that before. She's just so annoying in the morning. I just don't want somebody talking to me. I'd be like, can you set an alarm, but just also shut up? Because I don't want to hear you talk.
see, but the thing with the Alexa, then you're just like, oh, Alexa, check my notifications. Alexa, and it's like defeating the purpose
Oh no, I don't use
your.
her like
I
that.
know,
I
but
don't
you
even
could.
think she can set
You
up my
could.
notifications.
That's the thing. So, I'm gonna keep doing it. Phone on the counter, love it, great. Okay, number 2, because we got off on a little bit of a side note. Number 2 is prioritize your most important task for earlier in the day. I mean, I feel like we've talked about that a bunch. That's number 2. So I guess
Oh, my number 2 is the same. Do the most important thing first.
So yours is a different website.
Yeah, it is. I swear.
Mine's Center for Anxiety.
Mine is jamesclear.com.
All right,
I
well,
swear.
maybe they're copying each other. Okay, well, my third one, have set times for checking work and personal emails.
Oh, my third one is different.
Try limiting checking your email to 4 times per day at fixed intervals.
I feel like I don't check my personal email. I only check my work email, and that's like pretty limited. I'm not really like
Yeah, I don't
married to
check my email.
like
It's
that.
more so like checking the social media, checking those types, which I've actually been way more conscious of, and I am loving it. Like, loving it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, deleted Facebook, like I said in the last episode. It's great. Don't have to worry about it. Blah, 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 blah. So I think that's more of it. And so it's like for those of you who are addicted to your devices, like I could see it in a sense, like maybe checking the email for like the podcast and like what stuff we have going on there.
Yeah.
Like I can check, you know, because it's like something that's of interest to me. But like, you know, the work email, don't have that on my phone. Never will.
Yeah, I don't have my work email on my phone. I just have my
And then the personal
on the
emails is
podcast.
just like, you know, if it's something like important, like if we're waiting on grades, if we're waiting on like those types of things, then I guess maybe I'll see how that's a thing. But So
Well,
what
my
about,
third one
yeah.
is stop making decisions, start making commitments. Ooh.
Oh, see, commitments. What about the power of saying no?
Well, I think that is a commitment. Like you're committed to creating boundaries, to like setting boundaries. There's nothing wrong with saying no. You're just setting boundaries for yourself. Like if somebody asks you to do something and you don't want to do it or you don't have time to do it, there's nothing wrong with saying no. Like if that person gets upset with you, then that's their problem. You can't control how they react to that. Like you can only control your reaction to something. So like saying no is just setting a boundary. And so I really like this. Like start making commitments. I think like when you stop making decisions about things and you start committing to things, you're making a commitment to something for yourself. Right? So their example is like, I really want to get started on reading more books every year. I really want to lose 40 pounds. I really want to drink more water every year, right? Like you make a decision to do it, but you're not committed to it, right? You have no emotional connection to it. So I think that's the big like distinction there is that decisions are just things that you decide to do, but commitments are things that you feel emotionally invested in doing.
I guess that makes sense. That's kind of the approach I took to the whole read a book a month type thing. Like I'm just about to finish my third book.
Right. Or like you go to
It's
the gym
March.
every morning. Like you started doing that.
I don't want to talk about it. But yeah,
Yeah,
that,
but
that
you
commitment,
made a
I'm just like,
commitment. But you made a commitment for yourself.
yeah.
Right? Like you're committed to doing something better for yourself.
Well, like now that I've been doing it, it's not so much of like this morning I didn't go because my body needed to just sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like the biggest piece, everybody's like, "Oh, listen to your body." I'm like, that sounds ridiculous, but like, it's like legit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's what I did. And so like now that I've made it a commitment, like I feel better about going. It's not just like oh, I wonder how long this is gonna last. Like, you get in these highs and you get in these lows or whatever. But like for me, like I'm committed to go because it makes me feel better
Mm-hmm.
throughout my day. And like I don't know, I mean it combats the whole decision fatigue. Maybe that's, another highlight in terms of why I'm more like alert in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I've made it a commitment, it's not like yeah, I mean you still have that decision like, oh, am I gonna still go today? Or, and it's just like even on those days when I'm just like, I literally don't want to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so tired. I'll tell you, I'll just get up and I'll go.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate it. And then I'll just go through it. But it's because like that commitment piece. And I think, yeah, I mean, it really works.
Yeah. See? Commitment versus decisions. I think there's a lot to be said there.
So what's your fourth one?
My fourth one is if you have to make good decisions later in the day, then eat something first. So it's basically saying like taking a break to feed your brain is a good way to boost your willpower because you're like taking care of yourself.
Like actually eating though?
Yeah, like actually eating. Like actually eat something. Like I mean it doesn't have to be like an entire meal. It could just be like a snack or something. Like
Some blueberries to clear your mind?
yeah, have some blueberries, have some walnuts, have some like, good for you.
Oh, we haven't done blueberries in a while.
Oh, yeah. I said, like, as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, my brain needs some blueberries. But I think that's important because, like, your brain, if you think about, like, your brain burns a crap ton of calories in the day. I think there's something about, like, I was talking to one of our coworkers, Ryan, who was telling me that chess players burn like 6,000 calories during chess tournaments every day because they're like using their brains so much. Like it's like this thing in like among the in like the chess society where like if you are in a chess tournament, you will lose weight because you are burning so many calories just playing chess. Because your brain is that big of a muscle that it's burning so many calories. So like it would make sense. Like if you're constantly using your brain all day, yeah, of course it's going to be like tired and you're going to need something to fuel it. So have something good, like have some peanut butter, have like some blueberries, have an apple, have something that's going to make you alert. Obviously like don't go out and eat like a whole bunch of french fries, but like, eat something good for your brain, because that can kind of help stimulate your brain and help you make better decisions.
French fries could be good for your brain.
I mean,
Potatoes are healthy.
potatoes are healthy.
Just, not all the rest of the stuff. Studies show, actually, Google shows that about 20% of the resting metabolic rate
Is your brain.
is your brain.
Yeah. You got a lot going on inside that coconut. Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should start playing chess more.
I could never get into chess.
I enjoy chess.
Well, you're going to have to teach me then.
Like, there's apps on our phones, and they're pretty fun.
Really?
I used to play them all the time, but I don't need that kind of distraction. I've been very good about, like, no games on my phone, cutting that crap out, like
I'm
that
not
toxic.
saying we need games on our
but
phones.
it's like chess is pretty fun.
Let's go to Goodwill and find an actual chessboard.
Nah, that's too much work.
Well, then I'm not going to play chess because I don't know how to play chess.
You don't know how to play chess?
No.
Oh, well.
Nobody's ever taught me.
Huh.
I can play one hell of a game of checkers, though.
Huh. Well,
Not the same.
Let's see. My number 4 is utilizing the power of mindfulness to recharge your mental resources. Taking regular mini breaks from whatever you're doing and just observe what's around you.
I like that.
I like it too. I've been really doing the lately with really with only school. I've been doing the Jess got me into the Pomodoro technique, where you do like 25 minutes.
The what?
Pomodoro technique.
Bless you.
No. It's like a time management method, where it's like you break down your work into intervals, and so traditionally it's like 25 minutes, and then you do a 5-minute break. So 25 minutes, you're zoned in, you're only focusing on what you need to do. Phone's away, you're not, any urge to check anything or get distracted, because if you think about it, you spend 4 hours doing homework, but of that, you probably spend, an hour of that 4 hours just, dilly-dallying on your phone or whatever. And so, like, through that, I'll set the timer on my watch or whatever, and for the 25 minutes, I'm just focused on that. Okay. And, like, I've been doing it, like, more intentionally the last, like, 2 or 3 weeks, and it's actually pretty interesting, like, how, like, if I want to check my phone, I'm like, okay, I got, 12 more minutes, and then I can, take that little break, check my phone, have that urge or whatever, and like I start noticing myself more and more. The more I do it, and the more I'm in these focused intervals of this, I'm less tempted to touch my phone during that time. And then even during the break, I'm just like, well, this is stupid. Like, let's just get back to work. But I'll still give myself that time to step up, go get some water, take a little bit of walk, play with the dog, whatever. And it helps your brain kind of refocus, because then you're not just going hard for 4 hours straight, and your brain's just like, yo, I need a break.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but it's been really good. And so I like that piece of the mindfulness, is like doing the breaks, and the breaks really do help.
Huh, I really like that. Maybe I should try that.
So that's your challenge this week.
I was trying the Pomeranian, Pompadour, whatever the word you said earlier
Pomodoro.
was. That's it.
What's your 5th one?
My 5th one is simplify.
Ooh.
It says whether you are trying to reach the highest level of performance or just want to start eating a healthy diet, the biggest frustration for most people is the feeling that you need to use willpower on an hourly basis. So I think that kind of goes back to what you were saying before of the technique that you just said that I can't remember because I have a memory of a goldfish. So just like finding ways to break things down into individual steps and then spending like dedicated time doing stuff, but also giving yourself time to like relax from that, I guess. So like thinking of something as a marathon versus a sprint. Like when you run a marathon, you have to pace yourself and you can't do it all in 10 minutes.
Oh, I'm not good at that.
What, running marathons or pacing yourself?
Pacing myself.
Oh yeah.
Not good at running marathons either. Never done it. I don't think I ever will, but yikes.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
you
not good
run a
at that
marathon
either.
before?
No, no.
Oh,
I mean, I have, but no.
like a full-on marathon?
I did a color run.
Oh,
So I guess that
I've done
counts,
those, like
kind of.
5Ks and stuff,
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
I'm like,
Not like a full-on marathon,
yeah, no.
no. But
that sounds terrible.
yeah, that sounds
Like, absolutely.
like just being beaten for 10 miles.
If you're running marathons out there, oh, bless your soul.
Right, more power to you. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Oof.
Ooh, there's people like me who just like, hey, I'll watch you on TV.
Yeah, I cannot run marathons. But that whole concept of it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think we get caught up because we're making so many decisions all day long and we have to do things in like a rapid pace, rapid fire fashion. I think we kind of lose track of slowing ourselves down and really taking the time to focus on something and spending the time to do something right, I think. Like, at least for me. Because at work, we're constantly doing things and we're constantly task switching and we're constantly like, go, 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 go. And so when we have downtime, I feel like I'm not using my time wisely or I'm not doing the things I'm supposed to be doing. So then I get that whole like, productivity gene guilt
Just
going
itching
on.
at you. You're like, hi.
Yeah.
What you
then,
not
like,
doing?
I get decision fatigue later because I'm forcing myself to constantly be doing things all day long.
So do you think they go hand in hand?
I think
The
so.
productivity gene just works you to death,
Yeah.
and then the decision fatigue is the effect of.
Well, I think it's the opposite. I think the productivity gene is like is the result of decision fatigue. Cuz like you're constantly making decisions, you're constantly doing things. You're go 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 go. So then when you're not doing that, like your brain gets in the rhythm of being constantly going. And so when you're not doing that, you get this guilt, this productivity guilt of like I'm not doing the things that I should be doing or I'm not making the decisions that I should be making. Yeah. So I think that's how they go hand in hand.
My fifth one is exercise, taking 30 minutes out of each day to engage in some form of physical activity. So, like, I've been doing it in the morning, and so I feel great in the morning, but then, like, definitely feel that, like, afternoon crash, and I'm just, like,
I do mine in the afternoon. When I
sluggish.
get home, usually.
But the book that I'm reading, it's like it talks about, like, working out in the morning, starting your day, and then it also talks about, like, they call it a second wind workout.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, so it's like, I mean, they say, like, for an hour when you get home or whatever, which I'm like, oh, I don't know if I have time for that. But, like, I've been kind of wanting to maybe implement something like that. And, like, in the sense of they're like, so he's saying, like, get outdoors and, take a walk through nature, things like that or whatever. So it's not like a full flex, like, workout, kind of like I'm doing in the morning. This could be something as simple as, like, taking the dog for a walk. And so it's something I've kind of wanted to try. And they're saying, like, it's a great way to end a long day. And I think in the context of the decision fatigue,
Mm-hmm.
instead of getting home and you're like, oh, I'm so tired, don't want to do anything, kind of taking that initiative to do your workout or, go for a walk or whatever, get the blood flowing. Then you come back and you're kind of more, like a little bit more awake than you were, like a little bit more alert, and I think that, like, here it says it's like it's a way of accessing the physical and mental restorative effects from exercise. And so I want to try that just to see if it's like, oh, I'm actually, I don't feel so crappy at the end of the day, and so I'm curious to see if it works.
Well, I find that like when I work out at the end of the day versus in the morning, like I mean it's kind of like a mindless thing. Like I'm not making decisions, I guess, or I'm not like thinking super hard about it. And like I find that my brain is able to process some of the stuff that happens, like kind of like how you do when you're asleep. Like my brain, like I have time to just like think about certain things, right? So I can actually make better decisions while I'm working out versus like before I do that. So it's kind of like how you like or just mindlessly thinking about things in the shower. And you just like have shower thoughts or whatever. I have like workout thoughts.
Hmm.
It also helps with my restless leg syndrome because that's awful. My legs get itchy if I don't work out.
Exercise is good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as promised, we'd like to end every episode with a quote of some sort that's specifically related to the episode topic. And so today's quote, Lindsay found.
Yeah, so today's quote is a quote by John C. Maxwell. I actually went to one of his leadership conferences a couple years ago, and I really liked what he had to say. And so when I found this quote, it was super related to what we're talking about. And the quote goes like this: "Life is a matter of choices, and every choice you make makes you." And I love that quote because every decision that I've ever made has led me to this point. Like recording this podcast, everything that I've ever done has led me up to this particular moment in time of recording this particular podcast episode. And I just love thinking about that. Like I love looking back on where I've come from and all the decisions that I've made, whether I have decision fatigue or not. Like all of the decisions I've made, whether they were right or wrong, have led me to this moment. And in this moment, I'm pretty happy, pretty content with life. So, I like that quote a lot.
So some choices we're making this week.
Ooh.
Challenge. I'm going to keep doing the whole no phone thing in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try and get myself to prepare my outfit the night before.
I believe in you. You can do it.
And we'll see. Touch base next time to see, if it actually works, if it's a myth. And then your challenge was the alarm clock piece?
I don't remember. I have the memory of a goldfish, remember?
Oh, that's right. What is something you want to challenge yourself with this week?
Something I want to challenge myself this week. I don't know. I feel like we were talking about something.
I know we were. Oh, the Pomodoro technique?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna my challenge for the week is to do the Pomeranian Pompadour Pomade something or other thing. That thing, You'll have to send me a link to it because I will never remember the name of that. But yeah, I'm gonna try to do that, and I'm gonna try to do that like specifically when I'm doing homework. I think, because that's when I have the hardest time. It's like I'm such a procrastinator, and I love to not focus on things. I guess my brain doesn't want to focus on things because I'm constantly doing 10 million things at once, and so yeah, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna set a timer and do things for 20 minutes, and then take a break.
25 minutes.
Oh, okay, 25 minutes, and then do it again.
5-minute break.
Okay.
Don't be like, yeah, I work for 25 minutes. I'm going to take a 6-hour break. Trust me, I get like, oh, yeah, I've been productive. No, you actually haven't. It's fine.
Yeah, so that's my challenge for the week, is to do the Pomodoro. Maybe I'll be able to say it the next time we do this podcast.
That's your challenge. Learn how to pronounce the word. And then the next time you'll practice it. We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Just a quick question. Does anybody else suffer from decision fatigue? Or is it, are we just two crazy people with mics, fancy mics, and just talking too much?
Probably just two crazy people.
No, yeah, but if this is something that you guys can relate with, definitely let us know. Share some lovely stories, or just, if you can relate with that whole, oh, it makes me irritable, it makes me anxious, and, I can't even get from what something like so simple of, oh, what do you want to eat for dinner? And you're just like, listen, just stop. If that's something you guys can relate with, definitely go ahead and, we'd love to chat with you guys and hear your stories. And so you can reach out to us. You can DM us on Instagram or Twitter at Frank Disconnect. And you can also send any questions or suggestions to askfrank@frankdisconnect.com. Go ahead and give us a follow on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube, or wherever else you're consuming this podcast. We'd love it if you give it a like, subscribe, whatever the functionality on that given platform is. And also, we'd love it if you'd leave us a review so we can, really take this message and allow this podcast to reach more people. And lastly, don't forget to check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/FrankDisconnect. Thanks again for listening. Tune in next time for another episode of The Disconnect.